When we look at Alzheimer's disease, we look at a highly inflammatory problem. One of the two major processes that underlie most chronic diseases, including diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, and all these kinds of chronic illnesses they can think of, most of which are incurable, by the way, is this one thing called inflammation. Okay, and the other is chemical and heavy metal sensitivity. Okay, now these two things really, sensitivities to chemicals and heavy metals and inflammation, happen to be the two things that underlie Alzheimer's itself. Okay, so that's what I want to talk about: quenching sensitivity to chemicals and quenching sensitivity to heavy metals or heavy metal toxicity, as well as quenching inflammation. So when we look at Alzheimer's brain or brains with Alzheimer's disease, all these excess beta amyloid proteins and stuff, they all come from excess inflammation. Now, before I go any further, I want to talk about my part 1 video where I address the ultimate root cause. So all these things that I'm about to tell you, patients have reported good things about how practical it is and stuff like that, but understand that these are not to be carried out solely without fixing number 1. Okay, so number 1, part 1 of the video, I address that the fear of man, the performance mindset, the need for approval, okay, for a long time, really is the root cause of Alzheimer's disease. So if you are at this age where you are approaching, the risk range or risk age range for Alzheimer's, and you have this root cause that I stated in part 1, which is this fear of man, the needing for approval, needing for man's validation, not having a strong identity, right, which I believe must come from the Father himself, which must come from God who designed you and I, right? That's where you run the risk of actually having a lie identity. Okay, shout out to Myron Golden. The lie identity that you have to perform for others, okay, in order for you to feel validated, in order for you to be approved. Okay, so please watch that video, and that has to be ongoing or sorted out before you even carry out these 2 steps, because that's what you typically would do with a doctor in the clinic. You may not with the mainstream drugs and surgery, but you probably will you definitely will in my clinic, but maybe in some holistic natural doctors you may get these treatments as well. Okay, but just to help you understand, there are very 2 simple steps that you can apply right away to help you deal with the Alzheimer's symptoms. Okay, and that is what I mentioned earlier: inflammation and heavy metal toxicity or chemical sensitivity. Quenching inflammation is number 1. Okay, quenching inflammation is where we look at how your body has an imbalance of omega-3s, omega-6s. You may have more prostaglandin 2 than prostaglandin 1 and 3, or the reverse. You may have more leukotriene problem, right? Which, by the way, is way more toxic than histamine. Okay, and shout out to my allergy video part 2 where I talked about histamine. So I will link that at the end of the video, because histamine also happens to be a problem when it comes to Alzheimer's. That means most people who have some kind of or most people who have Alzheimer's, they often have some kind of accompanying allergy as well. Okay, so this is where we have to figure out the root cause of allergies, right? And also the root causes of the heavy metal toxicity. Maybe it could be a mercury filling, could maybe a tooth infection, or some kind of food substance that they're allergic to, that their bodies have been conditioned to react to, so that the histamine is produced. So all these things are inflammation that is bad. Okay, when the brain is on fire from these bad inflammation that is systemic, that's all over the body, the brain cannot function. So while we are fixing the ultimate root cause, we can reduce the inflammation by taking food as medicine, okay, to reduce inflammation, and that is really a whole other video in and of itself, but I want to give patients bite-sized information, okay, to be able to deal with Alzheimer's. So inflammation is number 1. Second one really is to reduce to improve blood flow, okay, to the brain. Now, this is where the chiropractor in me is passionate to see the blood flow to the brain restored using upper cervical chiropractic. So this is where in our clinic here, we take x-rays of patients and assess how patent are the vessels that produce blood from the heart into the brain. That is where we look at cerebral blood flow, we look at the circle of Willis, if you're familiar with that. But just to not talk about all these technical jargon, or just not to bore you with that, the idea is that we are looking at improving blood flow to the area. So imagine if you are now systemically less inflamed, Okay, that's step one. And now all the less inflamed blood is now going into your brain, providing it with nutrient-rich blood like oxygen, good amount of CSF flow or cerebrospinal fluid flow. Imagine how much better will a patient with an Alzheimer's disease can improve just by reducing inflammation and improving blood flow. Okay, so with that, I know some of you guys may have questions. I specifically put the link down below to the 3 Pillars of Health That You Never Told ebook. That is my free resource for every single person. And if you're looking to get a self-assessment, whether you may be prone to Alzheimer's or some kind of other disease, that spirit, soul, body assessment that I listed at the end of that ebook is available to you right in the description box. So click that and get to know about your fears and your toxic mindsets. And please, these are all completely anonymous, not open to public. You're putting your details in just allows me to reach out to you to see if you would like to get help. Okay, at the end of the day, your yes or your ability to reveal these things to me or to someone else will kickstart your healing, because healing is always a journey and it always requires time. So then again, please, I want to shout out also to my Q&A IG Live this coming Friday. This is where I talk about the questions that patients typically ask me in the clinic, or even the ones that have come in through the videos, about the videos that I posted up on the same week. So allergies, Alzheimer's like today, as well as addiction. So these are the 3 videos 3 diseases that I talked about this week, and that is where I will answer any questions related to those videos. So please like, comment, subscribe, because your supporting of this channel actually gets this free content out so that people can be set free from this disease for free. So I bless you, and I'll see you on the IG Live.